Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by sharing a simple truth that may sting a little, but it's one you need to hear. Every time you make an excuse, you trade your future for comfort. You mortgage your dreams for temporary relief. And while you're busy explaining when you can't, someone else is out there finding a way they can. Excuses aren't harmless. They are silent killers of potential. If you want to secure your future, the first thing you must eliminate is the habit of excusing yourself from the responsibility of growth. There's something about comfort that deceives people. It whispers softly, assuring them that tomorrow will always be there, that the chance they missed today will present itself again someday, that it's perfectly fine to sit back and delay because there's time. But the harsh truth is, while comfort speaks sweetly, it quietly steals your dreams one small compromise at a time. Every excuse made in the name of comfort trades a piece of your future for the brief satisfaction of avoidance. And this trade, while invisible in the moment, accumulates like a debt that demands payment when opportunity comes knocking. Far too often, people don't realize they've traded too much until the bill arrives, and by then, their best years, their finest energy, their golden opportunities have quietly slipped through their fingers. Excuses are seductive because they offer immediate relief from the discomfort of action. It's always easier to say, "You'll do it tomorrow," or "The timing isn't right," or "I don't have enough experience." But in the process of buying relief for today, people mortgage their future. The future belongs to those who are willing to sacrifice temporary ease for long-term gain. Every time someone surrenders to an excuse, they're telling their dreams, "You are not important enough right now." But dreams have a funny way of fading when neglected, not because they lose their power, but because people lose their will. The most dangerous thing about excuses is that they rarely feel wrong in the moment. They are dressed up as logic, as reason, as careful consideration. But behind every carefully constructed excuse is a simple truth fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, fear of discomfort. Instead of confronting the fear, people make friends with excuses. And as they nurture this friendship, their potential slowly withers away. You see it all around. The person who says they will start that business when the market stabilizes, the one who plans to write that book once they have more time, the individual who will get healthy when things settle down at work. But life never stabilizes for long. Time never magically appears. Things never fully settle down. Life is a constant wave of change, and waiting for the perfect moment is the most dangerous excuse of them all. There is no perfect moment. There is only now. The secret that the successful understand is that action must precede comfort, not follow it. They choose to act even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, even when the fear is loudest. And with each step forward, they diminish the power of excuses and strengthen their resolve. They know that the price of discipline is always smaller than the cost of regret. Regret is a heavy burden because it's filled with the weight of what could have been. And when someone looks back at a life filled with excuses, they don't remember the comfort they purchased. They remember the opportunities they forfeited. I once heard a story about a man who dreamed of building a great career. Every day, he told himself he would start when conditions were better. He needed to finish one more course, wait for one more promotion, save a little more money. Years passed. Promotions went to others. Opportunities passed him by. The courses were never finished, the savings never quite enough. One day, he woke up and realized that while he was waiting for the right time, time itself had moved on without him. The tragedy was not that he couldn't succeed, but that he had allowed his own excuses to quietly dismantle his future piece by piece. The choice is always in front of us. Every morning, we wake up with two options: make progress or make excuses. The people who choose progress understand that imperfect action beats perfect inaction every time. They are not afraid of failing because they know that every failure is a lesson, every setback a stepping stone. But excuses leave no room for learning, no room for growth. They are dead ends that circle back into themselves, offering comfort in the moment and emptiness in the future. The marketplace is not sentimental. It doesn't reward potential. It doesn't hand out prizes for intentions. It only responds to results. The person who shows up, who works, who persists despite the obstacles, is the one who reaps the rewards. It doesn't matter how valid your reasons may seem. The market doesn't pay for your struggles, your delays, or your justifications. It compensates those who bring value. And value is created by disciplined action, by consistent effort, by showing up when it's hard, by delivering even when circumstances are not ideal. There are countless people with incredible talent, brilliant ideas, and noble intentions who never achieved their goals because they allowed excuses to paralyze them. They waited for conditions to improve, for the fear to subside, for the stars to align. Meanwhile, others with less talent but greater determination stepped forward, took imperfect action, learned as they went, and created success from what they had. The difference was not intelligence or opportunity. It was a refusal to allow excuses to have a seat at the table. It's not that life is unfair. Life simply favors those who act. The person who moves forward, even uncertainly, even clumsily, is always ahead of the person who stands still, wrapped in the comfort of their reasons. And as days become weeks and weeks become years, the gap between the door and the excuser grows so large that it seems impossible to cross. But it was never impossible. It was built one small excuse at a time. The person who blames the economy, the government, their upbringing, or their circumstances hands over control of their life to forces they cannot change. The person who takes responsibility, who says, I will do it regardless, holds the keys to their own future. Responsibility is the great equalizer. It says, my life is my own, and I will shape it by my choices, not by my circumstances. Responsibility silences excuses because it demands action. It leaves no room for delay, no shelter for fear. There will always be obstacles. There will always be reasons to delay. There will always be people who tell you it can't be done. But none of that matters if you refuse to let excuses speak for you. The most powerful people in the world are not those who never face problems, but those who refuse to be stopped by them. They see challenges as part of the journey, not as barriers to success. Every problem contains a lesson, every setback a seed of growth. But you must be willing to move forward to harvest these lessons. Standing still offers no wisdom, only stagnation. Your future is being shaped right now by the choices you make today. The smallest decisions carry the greatest weight over time. Choosing discipline over distraction, responsibility over excuses, action over hesitation, these are the bricks that build the life you desire. And while it may seem hard in the moment, while others are resting, delaying, and excusing themselves from the work, you are moving ahead. The compound effect of consistent, disciplined action is what creates extraordinary lives. Success is not a mysterious force reserved for the chosen few. It is simply the result of refusing to make excuses and insisting on taking responsibility. It's about doing what needs to be done when you feel like it or not. Every day you do this, you separate yourself from the masses who are still waiting for the perfect time. Every day you choose action over excuse, you gain ground while others lose it. I've seen people transform their lives completely, not because they suddenly found more time, money, or talent, but because they finally got tired of their own excuses. They reached a point where the pain of remaining the same was greater than the discomfort of change. That moment is the turning point. And from there, they move forward with relentless focus, refusing to allow any reason to justify delay. The question you must ask yourself is simply, how many more days, months, or years are you willing to trade for the comfort of excuses? How many dreams will you sacrifice for the temporary safety of avoiding risk? The clock is ticking for all of us. Time is the one resource that can never be replenished. Every excuse you make costs you moments you can never reclaim. You have within you everything you need to create the life you desire, but you must be willing to confront the excuses that hold you back. You must be ruthless in identifying them, rejecting them, and replacing them with decisive action. The reward is not just success, but the deep personal satisfaction of knowing you lived fully, courageously, and without regret. The people who achieve greatness are not those who never feel fear or doubt. They feel both often, but they act anyway. They understand that action dissolves fear while excuses feed it. The only way to diminish fear is to confront it head on, to move forward despite its presence, to refuse to allow it to dictate your decisions. Every day, you have a choice. Will you be a person of action or a person of excuses? Will you step forward into growth or retreat into safety? The life you desire is waiting on the other side of that choice. The difference between you are and who you could be lies in excuses you are willing to stop making. Excuses are not always loud. In fact, they're most dangerous when they speak in quiet tones, when they dress themselves up as logic, when they echo the voices of people we trust, and when they hide behind legitimate pain. But make no mistaking, even the most reasonable sounding excuse is still a lie we tell ourselves to justify inaction. And the more believable the excuse sounds, the more destructive it becomes. It's like a well-dressed thief. Charming, smooth, yet convincing, while it slowly robs your energy, your time, your ambition, and finally, your future. Most people never reach the place they want to go, not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they become experts at justifying why they haven't moved yet. And every day they delay, that justification grows stronger and harder to break. There's a danger in believing your own story when that story is built on reasons instead of results. Many people spend years creating a perfect narrative explaining why they're not winning. I'm too young, too old, the market's too crowded, no one in my family ever did it, so how can I? These statements feel comfortable because they remove pressure. They allow you to remain as you are. But they also remove power. The moment you blame external conditions for your lack of progress, you surrender your ability to change those conditions. That's the trap. Excuses seem to protect you from pressure, but they also imprison you in place. The most clever excuses are the ones that sound noble. I'm not chasing money because I care more about purpose. He'll start after I give all my time to helping others first. I'm being cautious, not afraid. Those words feel morally right, but they're often used as shields to avoid facing discomfort. Purpose and caution are good things when they lead to thoughtful action. But if they're used to avoid effort, to hide from failure, or to escape responsibility, they become anchors rather than wings. People often wrap fear in noble language to make it easier to live with. But you cannot live your dream life if you're constantly negotiating with your fears and dressing them up as virtue. Excuses often masquerade as strategy. I'm planning. I'm researching. I'm still evaluating my options. But all of that means nothing without movement. Planning is only valuable when it leads to execution. Research becomes procrastination when it never results in action. Evaluation without decisions is simply stalling. The longer you wait to begin, the more skilled you become at avoiding. You develop the habit of delay, and soon, the muscle for movement atrophies. Progress does not come from knowing. It comes from doing. You don't need perfect understanding to take the first step. You just need enough courage to begin. Even a small step in the wrong direction teaches more than years of hesitation. People want guarantees. They want to be sure it will work before they act. But success doesn't come with guarantees. It comes with risks. It comes with stumbles. It comes with sleepless nights and difficult days. Those who are waiting for certainty will be waiting forever. Meanwhile, someone with less skill but more courage is taking action, learning on the go, and inching closer to their goal. Life doesn't reward the ones who wait the best. It rewards those who move, who show up, who try again after failure. The best strategy isn't a perfect plan. It's relentless motion. Get in the game, and you'll learn more in a month of action than a decade of reflection. Every excuse is a small agreement with mediocrity. It says, I accept less because it's easier. But ease is not the goal. Growth is, and growth requires friction. It demands pressure. It invites discomfort. That's how you build character, strength, and capacity. People who win understand that the pain of discipline is short-lived, but the pain of regret is permanent. Excuses bring relief now, but regret brings pain that echoes for years. It's the echo of what you could have been had you tried harder, had you started sooner, had you not talked yourself out of it one more time. There's a law in life. What you tolerate, you invite more of. If you tolerate excuses today, they will visit again tomorrow. If you make room for them in your thoughts, they'll eventually occupy your entire mindset. But when you refuse to accept them, when you slam the door shut, when you raise your standards and tell yourself, I will no longer allow these lies to live in my life, something shifts. That internal decision becomes the start of a new identity, one that values results over reasons, action over anxiety, commitment over comfort. When someone says, it's not the right time, what they really mean is, I'm afraid. But fear doesn't disappear with delay. It grows. It feeds on your hesitation. The more you postpone, the larger it becomes. The antidote is motion. Even one brave decision can shrink a mountain of doubt. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You just need to start climbing. And once you do, you'll notice something remarkable. The fear you thought was so big was only a shadow, and the obstacle you imagined was impossible wasn't even real. But you'll never know that if you stay in the safety of excuses. Let's shift into something even more dangerous than excuses. What happens when you allow them to pile up over time? Each excuse may seem small. Just one missed opportunity, one delayed action, one postponed dream. But added together, they create a life filled with regret. A life that looks back and says, I could have done more. I should have done more. Tragedy isn't the dream that was too hard. The tragedy is the dream that was never pursued. And not because it wasn't possible, but because it was excused away. And now consider this truth: your past is not your prison unless you decide to live there. Many people allow what happened before to become the reason they won't move forward. They say, I failed before, so I try again. Or, I come from a place where success isn't possible. But the past is a place of reference, not residence. You are not defined by what happened to you. You are defined by what you decide to do now. The most successful people didn't come from perfect pasts. Many came from brokenness, hardship, loss, and disappointment. But they refused to let that become their identity. They made a new choice. And so can you. There's a powerful shift that's when you stop saying, I can't because, and start asking, how can I? That change in language opens the door to solutions. It invites creativity. It forces your mind to search for possibilities instead of problems. The question changes the direction of your focus. You begin to look forward instead of backward. You begin to search for actions instead of excuses. And as your thinking changes, your life begins to change too. You do not need to have all the answers to start. You do not need the perfect background, the perfect timing, or the perfect plan. All you need is a decision, a moment of clarity that says, no more waiting. I no more excuses. I will act. That decision becomes your turning point. And from that moment forward, every step you take builds confidence. Every action becomes momentum. Every failure becomes a lesson. And soon, the excuses that once held you back seem laughable compared to the life you are building. You have more strength than you realize, more capacity than you've tapped into, more potential than you've ever used. But that power will never show up until you remove the excuses that have been standing in its way. Your results are waiting on the other side of those excuses. Your future is waiting on the other side of responsibility. And every day you delay is one more day stolen by a lie you no longer have to believe. Failure rarely arrives all at once. It doesn't crash into your life a thunderstorm loud and unmistakable. No, failure is much more subtle than that. It sneaks in quietly, disguised as tiny decisions, small compromises, and the comfortable choice of inaction. One excuse today feels harmless. 2 excuses tomorrow seem reasonable. A week later, you're justifying another delay because you're tired, busy, or not quite ready. Before long, those small excuses compound into habits. And it's these habits that slowly shape the course of your entire life. You don't lose your future in a single moment. You surrender it one excuse at a time. Every day, people bargain with themselves. They trade discipline for distraction, responsibility for rationalization. I'll do it tomorrow. One day won't make a difference. I've earned a break. These thoughts feel good in the moment because they release the pressure, but what they truly release is control. With every small excuse, control shifts from your hands into the hands of your circumstances. You become a passenger in your own life, carried by the winds of procrastination and delay. And while you drift, others who refuse to make those excuses are building, growing, and advancing. The process is so slow that you barely notice it. You still believe you're on track. After all, you have plans. You have dreams. You tell yourself you're just being strategic, waiting for the perfect time, but the perfect time never comes. Meanwhile, opportunities expire. Momentum fades. Confidence weakens. And one day you wake up and realize that years have slipped by while you were waiting for the right conditions that never arrived. That is how the future is lost. Not through one grand failure, but through the silent accumulation of small, seemingly harmless choices. It's a law of life that neglect has a compounding effect. The things you neglect today don't simply stay as they are. They worsen. Ignore your health for a day and nothing seems different. But ignore it for a year, and the damage is visible. Neglect your relationships for a day and they seem fine. Neglect them for years and the distance grows wide. Neglect your personal development, your business, your finances, your dreams, and slowly but surely they deteriorate. Excuses don't just delay your progress. They actively erode the foundation of your future. The people who succeed in life understand this. They know that discipline, though often uncomfortable, pays dividends that excuses never can. They don't negotiate with themselves every morning about whether they feel like doing the work. They don't entertain the endless debates of should I or shouldn't I. They've made the decision once, and then they honor it daily. They know that consistency beats intensity. Doing the small, important things every day, especially when you don't feel like it, is the pathway to extraordinary results. Excuses promise short-term comfort but deliver long-term pain. Discipline demands short-term sacrifice but offers long-term reward. Every excuse avoided is an investment in your future. Every disciplined act builds confidence, momentum, and character. And over time, these small acts of discipline multiply, creating a life of fulfillment, growth, and achievement. You see, most people don't fail because they couldn't do it. They fail because they convinced themselves they had a good reason not to. The mind is incredibly skilled at justifying comfort. It can create the most elaborate stories about why it's not the right time, why you're not ready, or why you need to wait. But success comes to those who refuse to listen to these stories. They act despite fear. They move forward despite uncertainty. They understand that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to act while fear whispers in your ear. It's not about being perfect. It's not about having all the answers. It's about making a simple, powerful decision to stop making excuses and start taking responsibility. Responsibility is the gatekeeper of freedom. When you accept full responsibility for your life, you reclaim your power to change it. You no longer wait for someone else to open a door or fix your circumstances. You become the architect of your own destiny. And here's where the real magic happens. Once you commit to eliminating excuses, your entire perspective changes. You begin to see possibilities where before you only saw obstacles. You develop resourcefulness. You discover strength you didn't know you had. You realize that most of what was holding you back was simply the belief that something outside of you had to change first. But when you change, everything else follows. The path to success isn't hidden. It's not reserved for a special few. It's wide open for anyone willing to take responsibility, to embrace discipline, and to reject excuses. The same hours are given to everyone. The same days pass for each person. The difference lies in how those hours and days are used. Some fill them with reasons, others fill them with results. And over time, those small differences create enormous gaps in outcomes. There is no secret formula. There's no magic pill. Just the quiet, consistent choice to say yes to discipline and no to excuses. Day after day, year after year, until one day you wake up and realize you've built life that others only dream about. And it all started with that simple decision to stop surrendering your future one excuse at a time. But now comes the most important truth of all. This is where it all comes together. Because once you understand how excuses slowly erode your future and how discipline builds it, you arrive at the final choice that determines everything. You must decide whether you will live a life of reasons or a life of results. That decision will shape not only your success, but your legacy. You see, results begin where excuses end. They can never coexist. Every excuse you allow takes the place of a result you could have created. And every result you achieve is proof that you refuse to make an excuse in that moment. Results are earned through responsibility, through ownership, through the unwavering commitment to do what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. And while others are still debating, still hesitating, still justifying their delays, you're producing. You're learning. You're growing. Results aren't always immediate. Sometimes you'll work hard and see little change at first. That's where most people give up. They allow discouragement to become another excuse. But those who understand the process stay the course. They know that seeds planted today don't bear fruit tomorrow. But with consistent care, with steady effort, those seeds eventually grow into trees that produce abundantly. And when that harvest arrives, it's not luck. It's not coincidence. It's the accumulated reward of every excuse you didn't make. When you choose results over excuses, you also gain something far greater than external success. You build internal confidence. You develop a deep sense of self-respect, knowing that you can count on yourself. That confidence becomes your foundation, your fuel, your quiet strength that carries you through every challenge life throws your way. You no longer fear obstacles because you've proven to yourself that you don't need perfect conditions to move forward. You don't need guarantees. You just need the courage to act. The people who live extraordinary lives are not the ones who faced no adversity. They are the ones who faced every adversity and refused to surrender to it. They are the ones who faced fear and still moved forward. They are the ones who were tired, uncertain, overwhelmed, and still chose action over comfort. Every time they could have made an excuse, they made a decision instead. And each decision built their strength until success was no longer something they chased. It was something they attracted by who they had become. You have that same choice. You have that same power. Right now, at this very moment, you stand at the crossroads between excuses and results. One path leads to comfort today and regret tomorrow. The other leads to effort today and fulfillment tomorrow. The question isn't whether you have the ability. The question is whether you'll make the decision. Time is not waiting. Life's not pausing. The days will continue to pass whether you act or not. But if you choose to eliminate excuses, if you choose to take responsibility, if you choose to honor your potential, you will build a life that far exceeds what you once believed was possible. And one day, as you look back, you won't see a trail of reasons. You'll see a path of results. You'll see the life you created, not because it was easy, not because you had no fear, but because you refused to let excuses have the final word.